Welcome to Trail Time Stories. We hope you enjoy the scenery as we read stories that step out of the normal day-to-day mundane routine and help put ourselves in the character of those that have been briefly pulled from their sanctuary of safety and all too often times their sanity. If you like the content, please like and subscribe as there will be much more content in the near future. The following true ghost stories were posted on yourghoststories.com. Story number 1 is titled Man in the Driveway and was posted by Lady Monticello on October the 26th of 2020. My son and his beautiful wife were looking for their first home. He wanted as much acreage as he could get, so we found this home that sits so far off the road that you cannot even see it. The owner had passed away, and this house had sat vacant for at least 10 years. It was the right price, so we were excited and happy to have found it. When it was still for sale, my daughter-in-law and I made a trip out there alone to walk around the property and peer in the windows. We were peering in the windows and we realized the sliding door was not locked. I opened the door and yelled in, "Hello?" We stepped in and looked around a bit, but the house was big. We got scared and went back outside to look around. We were walking in the back of the property. The grass started to get so tall we decided to go back. We turned around and we both saw a tall man standing in the driveway looking right at us. But he faded away very quickly, like 1, 2, 3, and gone. "Did you see that?" I asked. She said, "The man in the driveway?" And I said, "Yes." We both decided it was the sunlight playing tricks on our eyes. We then walked back up to the house and opened the slider again. My daughter-in-law yelled in, "Hello?" But this time the hello echoed back at us. Neither of us wanted to step into the house, so we left. They went ahead and bought the big house with the land because my son wanted it so badly. Right away we started cleaning. The house had been a duplex and they turned it back to a single-family home. It was so full of dirt that they didn't move in right away. One night everyone was at work and I was at their home painting alone. I started to hear noises in the basement. I went outside to my car, which was a walk in pitch black darkness. I got in my car and saw that the light inside the other side of the house had turned on. I decided not to investigate and left. I often go there to help. On one trip I was mowing near the road and I met the neighbor. I told her of some of the stuff we found strange about my son's new home, and this lady tells me to check out the front step. So when I finished mowing down by the road, I headed right up to the house and looked at the white marble step. Oh, she is trying to spook me. It looked like a step to me, and we had been using it as such, so I pushed on it and could not budge it. My son came out and asked me what I was doing. I told my son what the neighbor had said. My son is big and strong, and he pulled that heavy white marble step up, and it was a tombstone of a military veteran. It no longer looked like a step at all. It had the name, date, and everything on it. Why was it being used as a step? And is this the man we saw in the driveway? The name on the tombstone is not the name of the previous owner. The tombstone is much older, from World War I. We have Googled the name and have not been able to find out anything thus far. We still have the tombstone there on the front porch, and will probably put it someplace on the property. The house has begun to feel like their home, and I'm hoping that the entity we saw in the driveway was saying goodbye. My son has a big German Shepherd, and he feels safe and comfortable in the home. My beautiful daughter-in-law wants to move in already. I don't know if this is a bad sign, but there were snakes everywhere in the yard around the house. One snake slithered right onto my foot, and I am afraid of snakes. I looked down and saw the snake on my open shoe, and screamed so loud it sounded like someone else was screaming to me, and I ran. The snake landed between my feet, and we were both going the same direction. Never has that happened to me ever, and I live in the country too. The snakes are mostly gone, but I still wear boots now when I visit. Story number 2 is titled He Brought Her to Me by Susie 2, and was submitted on October the 21st of 2020. As we continue to live in this unique time, my hope for you all is to be safe. These are crazy times. I have mentioned before that I lost my dad a bit over 10 years ago, and my mom passed on July the 2nd. She suffered from dementia for about 5 years, but the last 3 of her life was devastating. It's been the longest goodbye for us. I live 1,000 miles away, and with this pandemic, was able to go see her before she passed. My mom would have told me to stay home and stay safe. She would not have wanted there to be a fuss. I find comfort in the fact that I was able to spend a week with her back in November and accept that it was the last time I would see her, physically that is. Over the last few months of her life I have dreamed of her frequently. Often my dad was also in these dreams. I strongly believe that he was waiting for her. My sister, who took care of my mom until the end, told me Mom was always talking to someone at night. She kept a baby monitor in her room in case Mom needed something, but my sister could never make out what she was saying or who she was talking to. Fast forward to her passing. I dreamed a lot about my sister after she passed, 26 years ago, and I've also dreamed of my dad. Since Mom's been gone, I've been waiting for a dream about her. Mind you, not just any dream, but the visitation type of dream. Well, it finally happened. In my dream, I was riding in the car with Mom and Dad. He was driving and Mom was in the passenger seat. I sat directly behind Mom and they were discussing something. We pulled into the driveway where they used to live and got out. Mind you, this was a lake house that my parents built and our family had many happy times there. All the grandkids still tell wonderful stories of that lake house. So while Mom and Dad were talking, she called Dad Lloyd, which was not his name. This resonated with me because Mom used to call my son George when he was little, and he always told her, "Grandma, I'm not George." She did it just to give him a hard time, and we always laughed. In my dream, I was about to remind her of this when it hit me. She's gone. I grabbed my mom and hugged her so tight and literally sobbed, telling her how much I love and miss her. I felt her in my arms, and I felt my body sob so hard. As I sadly woke up, I remembered Dad standing there while I hugged Mom, and I know he brought her to me. Story number 3 is titled Night Knocker and was posted by Lady Monticello on October the 19th of 2020. Many years ago, I was separated from my husband and living alone in our remote Michigan County home. This weekend, our children were at his home and staying with him. I had worked a long international 3-day trip and had commuted home from Chicago O'Hare. It was late when I arrived home and I was tired. I took my luggage inside, dropping it by the front door. I grabbed a snack and answered a call from a relative, then headed straight to the bathroom and drew a hot bubble bath. I shut the shades before getting into the tub, even though there is nothing but woods behind my home for 3 miles. I was relaxing in the hot water when I was jolted alert by hard banging on my front door. The outside screen door was metal and the noise it made was very loud. It traveled down the halls and through the closed bathroom door. It continued with an urgency bang, bang, bang in 3s. The loud knocking went. I grabbed a towel and feeling annoyed at the rude loud knocking, I thought to myself only my mother would knock so loudly, and she's probably not alone, so I better get dressed. I quickly put my uniform back on. I went to the front door, and as I turned the corner, the knocking stopped suddenly. As I reached for the door handle to throw open the door, the hair on my neck went up. I felt a cold chill go over me, and a sudden feeling of doom. I pulled my hand away from the door handle and up to the door shade to peer out into the night. I expected to see my mother, but my porch was empty. I turned on the light and looked out my driveway, and it was empty. I looked to my right at my other driveway to my barn, and it too was empty. I picked up my phone and called my mother as I peered from my entranceway out into the night. I told my mother what had happened as I stood there looking out into the night. As we spoke, I heard the sound of my hall closet door handle turning ever so slowly behind me, and I turned to see it swing open. I screamed so loud that my mother yelled, "Is someone killing you?" I said no. The closet just opened on its own. She told me to go look inside, but my legs did not want to move. I was about 8 feet from the closet when I was finally able to look in. It was full of coats and such, no room for a real person to be in there. My heart was racing. I was now fearful, and I called my neighbor to shine his lights on my house. He drove down, and it took him a long 15 minutes. My mother stayed on the phone with me until he arrived. I did not investigate. I grabbed my suitcase still by the door while my neighbor who lived 2 miles away was in my driveway. I got in my Tahoe and left. Whatever it was that night felt evil. Story number 4 is titled Help, The Spirit Won't Leave Me Alone, and was posted by MSC Cross on July the 22nd of 2020. The story starts back in September of 2019. We randomly had a Ouija board downstairs in our basement, and it had been down there for years, even before I knew what it was. One day I got the idea to just see what would happen if I tried it, but I got nothing. Then on another occasion after that I tried it. I think I may have gotten some movement, but nothing that was really responsive. I don't remember if I requested any presences from anyone. I think I just wanted to see if the planchette would even move. The third time I was a little bit more prepared, or so I thought. I brought some Palo Santo with me. I didn't have sage at the time. A few candles, and I set an intention that only beings with good intentions were allowed to contact me, and nothing else was allowed. I wanted to speak to my ancestors, but I was open to anyone speaking to me. This time I actually got an answer. At first, it kept spelling out a bunch of random letters for about 30 minutes. He managed to tell me that he was my 4th generation great-grandfather or something along those lines. A family member who I wasn't familiar with, but kept talking gibberish. At one point, I had enough and said, "I'm sorry, I can't understand you," then ended the session. I tried to start a new session, but the same spirit showed up. I should have just ended it there, but I was curious as to why he still wanted to talk to me. After more time, all of a sudden it started talking like normal. The spirit said that it was all a prank and that he was a family member I knew. He said he was my first grandfather, and I believed that because from the stories I had been told, he was a bit of a prankster. Side note, I had never met any of these family members before they died, but I have heard countless stories. I have also always wanted to talk to them because even though I never met them, I have felt connected in some sort of way. Unfortunately, this is what made it so easy for the spirit to trick me. Even though I know about them through stories, I don't know them as actual people. So I just have a general idea of what they would be like. The spirit could easily manipulate me and try to be like them as much as possible, or also try to fill in the gaps of what parts of their personality I didn't exactly know about. Once I found out who I thought I was talking to, we chit-chatted for a few hours and asked a bunch of random questions. To make a long story short, not only did the spirit make me believe that I was talking to a dead family member of mine, throughout our conversation he tricked me into thinking I had a dead sister that I had no idea about, and fed me a bunch of other random lies. After a while, it was late and I was tired, so I went back upstairs to sleep, planning to talk to this sister the next day. I woke up the next day after I got home from running errands. I immediately went back downstairs to the board. Me and this sister would talk about anything for hours on end for at least 2 weeks. I had my suspicions and sometimes I felt really weird after using the board, but I didn't think too much of it. Then one day me and the sister were talking, and she said that I had a family member who was alive and whom I didn't know about yet. They were also supposedly from another country. Apparently she had the phone number for this family member and gave it to me. Through an international calling app, I tried to contact with the person, but it didn't go through. Afterwards, I really began to suspect that I was not talking to my family members and that it was something else. I tell the sister that I was suspicious, and I ask if I was really talking to them. Finally, the spirit confesses to have completely lied to me this entire time. I asked the spirit who he was, and he lied to me again and said that he was the ghost of a person who once lived at my apartment before me. This place is not very old. Apparently his name was James, and he was mad at us for not taking care of the apartment like he wanted, and that's why he pranked me. I didn't really believe this, especially since it's not like it's hoarder's paradise around here. I confronted him about it, though, and told him that if it was all true, it was wrong to go that far, and he should have just came forth and told me who he was. Though I was angry, I tried really hard to stay cool, because I heard that sometimes getting mad at a spirit only makes things worse. He apologized, and I tried to send him on his way to a better place. After that, I felt horrible over the next few days. I couldn't stop thinking about what happened, and I was really confused. Then I came across a video talking about automatic or spirit writing. I decided to try it out to see if it would work, and I thought it might be a safer way to get answers. In the video, it said that it might take a while to get the hang of automatic writing, but to my surprise, it came naturally to me. I tried contacting someone who was a guide of mine to get some answers, but I ended up getting tricked again. Shortly after that, I started talking to who I thought was my relatives again. For some reason, I talked to more of them, and I got what I thought was better, clearer answers at first. I was still skeptical though, because I had been through so much with James already, but I wanted to see if this was all real. Eventually, after a few weeks of writing, I started to be able to hear them. I could hear what they were going to say even before it was written. I could start to hear full sentences, voice tones, pitches, and even multiple people at once. I could even speak to them through my mind. Sometimes, if I couldn't hear them, I'd ask a question in my mind and they would write down the answer. I didn't mind it too much at first, but then it started to become a lot to handle. I could hear them 24/7 and it became a huge part of my life. I think it was cool to hear them, but it was overwhelming to hear them so often. I thought it was a psychic power I had that was overactive, which made it so I heard them all the time. This went on for a few months, and as it continued, I got more and more suspicious, but they kept reassuring me that one day they'd be able to prove it to me that it was them. The entire time, I felt something was off, but I didn't know what it was. I knew James was still hanging around because I could hear him too. Then in December, my father passed away. Afterward, the voices seemed to stop, and it was a great relief. After a while of not having anyone talking to me, I began to suspect that the entire time James was behind it all. I didn't think he could make it sound like I was hearing multiple voices and even different tones, but it seems to make the most sense at this point. I can't exactly remember when I came to that conclusion, but that conclusion has not changed since. Gradually I started to hear voices often again, and now I'm hearing him 24/7. But it's as himself this time, no one else. Before, when I thought I was talking with my relatives, we'd just chit-chat all the time, even about the most mundane things. Now he just criticizes me and makes snarky comments. This may sound like a joke, but he does stuff like this to annoy me. If I even brush my teeth the wrong way, he'll make comments. It's really strange, but he'll do literally anything in his power to annoy me or even upset me. Nothing I have done to get rid of him has worked so far. I have tried prayers, that white light trick, sage, even different kinds of sage. I have stopped automatic writing, and even burned the notebook I used to do the writing in. The only thing I haven't done, and I'm really kicking myself in the rear for not doing, is burning the Ouija board. Back in October, I wanted to get rid of the board really bad. This entire time, I have not had a mentor or anything, so I have been going by the internet, or what I think might help, since I have no prior experience with the spirit world. I thought about burning the board, but I heard somewhere that it could actually make the situation worse. So I just gave it up to a place that sells board games. They said that they didn't accept Ouija boards because they already had enough of them. However, if you leave something there that wasn't accepted, they will just trash it, and that's what I did. So most likely it was trashed, but it probably wasn't burned. I am really desperate for your help. This is not something I can live with for the rest of my life. I wish I knew what to do to make this all go away, but I don't. The worst part is that no one knows. I can't tell them about this in fear of people thinking I'm absolutely insane. I appreciate any words of wisdom at this point. Story number 5 is titled The In-Between and was posted by Susie2 on May the 11th of 2020. My story happened recently and it puzzles me. Not sure it's actually paranormal, but I will let you decide. My bedroom has 2 windows with room darkening curtains. I sleep with a fan set on hurricane speed to drown out any outside noise, and my bedroom door was locked. I'm not sure what time this occurred, but I woke up and looked towards the window and curtains on the right side of my bed. I saw a bright light about the size of a tennis ball. It wasn't solid, but seemed to have texture and a certain glow to it. This light didn't move, and I didn't feel anything negative from it. My thought was, it was my guardian, and I'm not sure if I said thank you out loud or thought it. I rolled over facing away from this light and went back to sleep. I didn't wait for it to disappear because I was so tired. Thank you for watching and listening to today's video and story. We know your time is valuable and really do appreciate that you spent some of it with us today. If you haven't already, then please like and subscribe as it helps us greatly. We hope to see you again soon. Have a great day or evening. Trail Time Stories out.